Joseph Michael Valachi was an American mobster in the Genovese crime family who was convicted of drug trafficking in 1959 and sentenced to 15 years imprisonment. In 1962, while he and Genovese family boss, Vito Genovese, were in prison together, he murdered an inmate he thought was a hitman sent by Genovese and was sentenced to life imprisonment. Valachi subsequently became a government witness, and in the next year he testified before a U.S. Senate committee and notably became the first member of the Italian-American Mafia to acknowledge its existence publicly in 1963. Valachi was born on September 22, 1904, into a poor Campanian Italian immigrant family in the East Harlem neighborhood of New York City, United States. Later, Valachi claimed that his violent alcoholic father was to blame for his decision to join organized crime. With a small group known as the Minutemen, Valachi's criminal career first got underway. They received the moniker Minutemen as they became known for their quick escapes from smash and grab burglaries. The gang's driver, Valachi, had a reputation as a rising star in the criminal underworld of New York City, thanks to his skill at making a quick getaway. Valachi was detained twice, once in 1921 on suspicion of grand larceny and once in 1923 following a failed robbery. He was given a sentence of 18 months in prison at Sing Sing after entering a guilty plea to an attempted burglary, but he was released after serving only 9 months. Valachi returned to discover he had been replaced with a new driver by the Minutemen, and so he formed a new burglary gang. Valachi joined the American Mafia in 1930 and became a made man, after which he quickly rose through the ranks to become a soldato in the Gaetano Reina family, now known as the Lucchese family. The Castellamarese War, a bloody power struggle within Italian organized crime between the factions of Salvatore Maranzano and Joe Masuria over command of operations in the United States, was at its height when Valachi joined. After switching his allegiance from Masuria to Maranzano, Reina was killed. As a member of the Reina family, Valachi participated in the battle for Maranzano, which was ultimately successful following Masuria's murder on April 15, 1931. In the Italian-American Mafia, Maranzano proclaimed himself Capo di tutti I Capi, and Valachi joined his bodyguards. This position was short-lived, as Charles Lucky Luciano led a group of Maranzano's subordinates and assassinating him 5 months after the Castellamarese War came to an end. Valachi then became a soldier in the family headed by Luciano, eventually known as the Genovese family, and the crew headed by Anthony Strollo, nicknamed Tony Bender. Vito Genovese, the mob boss, allegedly gave the order to kill Stephen France in 1953. While he was hiding in Italy, Genovese had tasked France with keeping an eye on his wife Anna. Genovese gave Valachi the order to stage France's murder in response to his outrage over Anna's alleged romantic relationships and her lawsuit against him. On June 18, 1953, France was lured to Valachi's restaurant in the Bronx, where he was killed by strangulation at the hands of Fiore Ciano, Valachi's nephew, and Pasquale Pagano. Valachi received a 15-year prison term after being found guilty of drug offenses in 1959. Valachi's reasons for turning informant had been the subject of some debate. He claimed to be testifying as a public service and to expose a powerful criminal organization that he had blamed for ruining his life, but it is also possible that he was hoping for government protection as part of a plea deal. The plea being that he was sentenced to life in prison, rather than the death penalty for a murder that he had committed in 1962 while he was in prison for his drug violation. Both Genovese and Valachi were serving prison terms for trafficking heroin. On June 22, 1962, Valachi killed an inmate he believed to be Joseph Di Palermo, a mafia member who had been hired by Genovese to kill him, with a pipe that had been left nearby during construction. After spending some time with FBI handlers, Valachi reported that Genovese kissed him on the cheek, which he mistook for a kiss of death. Genovese had set a $100,000 bounty for Valachi's demise. Attorney William G. Hundley became Valachi's defender when he made the decision to work with the U.S. Justice Department. In October 1963, Valachi testified before Arkansas Senator John L. McClellan's Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations of the U.S. Senate Committee on Government Operations, known as the Valachi hearings, stating that the Italian-American Mafia actually existed, the first time a member had acknowledged its existence in public. Valachi's testimony was the first major violation of omertà, breaking his blood oath. He was the first member of the Italian-American Mafia to acknowledge its existence publicly, and is credited with the popularization of the term cosa nostra. Although Valachi's revelations never directly resulted in the prosecution of any mafia leaders, he provided many details about the mafia's history, operations, and rituals, assisted in the resolution of several unsolved murders, and named many members and major crime families. Through Valachi's televised testimony, the trial exposed American organized crime to the rest of the world. After the Justice Department first encouraged and then blocked the publication of Valachi's memoirs, journalist Peter Moss wrote and published the Valachi Papers in 1968, heavily influenced by the memoirs and interviews with Valachi. Valachi died of a heart attack on April 3, 1971, while serving his sentence at the Federal Correctional Institution, La Tuna, in Anthony, Texas. He was laid to rest 4 days later in Lewiston, New York, at the Gate of Heaven Cemetery.